What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About Real Estate. And today we have Stephen Bryant, and we're going to talk about divorce. So Stephen is a divorce financial analyst, and his company is Synergy Divorce Solutions. Is that right?
Yes, sir. You are correct.
All right. So what made you get into what you're doing?
Yeah. So to make a long story short, first of all, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be on, Taco Tuesday.
Yeah, man.
And I am a divorce financial analyst, and my company's name is Synergy Divorce Solutions. I am a financial expert that comes into the divorce process to analyze people's income, their budgets, their assets and liabilities, to show them what a fair or equitable financial settlement would be, with the backup information to support, to give them peace of mind. Everything that we do here is to help spouses settle the financials of their divorce outside of court, to save them time, money, and of course, the stress that comes with it.
Yeah.
The reason I started my company was because my parents went through a divorce that took 4 years and $500,000 in legal fees. $500,000.
Yeah, that's wild.
I didn't say that wrong. No custody involved, strictly finances.
Right.
And so where I found a niche was that there are a lot of people, there's not really financial professionals involved in the divorce process.
Right.
And so everybody wants to know, am I going to be okay?
So you're saying the attorney involved that's representing the divorce is not necessarily recommending what they do with their finances?
So attorneys are not financial professionals.
Right.
And so what attorneys' jobs are too is obviously handle the contractual, the legalities of everything like that. But that's really where a person like me is needed and where that comes in. And how I know this is I was actually going to be an attorney. So to make another long story short, when I was going to college, I was a pre-law major. Mm-hmm. My parents told me they wanted to get divorced. First week into college, you can't even make this up, they settled on my birthday my senior year, April 1st, $500,000. 4 years, $500,000. So when I got out of college and I was headed to law school, my father gave me the idea where he says, hey, he was a financial advisor, and he goes, hey, after what you, me, and your mother just went through, I think you could find a financial niche during the divorce process. He goes, everybody does what I do from a financial advisor. He says, you just got divorced. Let's see how we can make that work.
Okay.
But at some point, you didn't get enough money sometimes. So people find out after the divorce is final that, look, I'm running out of money at 78 years old. We need to go renegotiate this. Then you just have to pay more time, money, and more stress to get it done. And so that's where the idea came from, is my parents went through it. I saw, obviously the difficulties on the financial side, but obviously the emotions and everything like that as well. And so the whole reason that they had to go through that whole terrible process is simply because they couldn't figure out the finances. And why is that? Is because there's no financial professionals involved usually. So what my company does, we come in, we work with the family law attorneys, we work with mediators, we work with divorce coaches, we work with anybody that really could be involved in the divorce process with this. As I said, everything we do is to help our clients settle the financials outside of court, to save them time, money, and as I said, most importantly, the stress that comes with it.
Sure. Okay. So how would someone even know to go about communicating or reaching out to someone like you?
Well, that's a great question, because a lot of people, first of all, there are not a lot of divorce financial analysts out there.
Right.
And so the main way that I bring in clients and everything like that is obviously establishing relationships with family law attorneys, mediators, and everything like that. But also outside marketing, I found that all other professionals, anybody else that could be involved in divorce, is a great referral source. Financial advisors, accountants, real estate agents, divorce coaches, therapists. There's all these people that are involved in the divorce process when people really think it's only you and your attorney versus your spouse and your attorney. We're going to battle it out. It doesn't have to be like that.
Right.
You can bring in other professionals, and that's where my company, Synergy Divorce Solutions, comes in. Synergy part is meaning everybody does their job to accomplish one specific task. And so that's where my company says, hey, let's let the attorneys do the legal stuff. Let's let the finances be handled by the financial professionals, the emotions, custody. I always recommend that you bring in a therapist or a counselor, or there's actually a profession that's called a divorce coach out there, which a lot of people don't know about.
Right, okay.
Yep. So that's really, and with a divorce coach, that's actually the best team that you can have, is a divorce financial analyst and a divorce coach. Because people don't know this, and this is the number one thing that I tell people. You can settle the entire situation, your entire financial picture, your entire settlement with custody and everything outside of court. People don't know that. They think you have to go to court. They think you have to hire an attorney and everything like that. Now, I would never advise that you don't hire an attorney. I would always advise that you have an attorney. But the question is, when do they have to come in?
Sure.
If you and your spouse are able to work together, then let's settle everything we can possibly settle outside of court. Just save your own time and money. Now, if you can't work together at all, then that's where I'll say we need an attorney right off the bat, because you guys aren't going to be able to communicate back and forth. So that is my bread and butter, we'll call it, is obviously family law attorneys and stuff. But other professionals that could be involved in the divorce process, as well as marketing like this. I love doing podcasts. I've been I was on Fox 5, I was on Fox 45, I was on the cover of the Maryland Family Law Daily Record. So anything that I can do to get not only my company's name out there, but just the divorce financial analysts in general. People just don't know they exist. That's just why.
So if I was thinking about divorce. Let's say I call you. What happens next?
Well, first we'd set up an initial consultation. We don't charge for initial consultation phone calls or anything like that. Let's discuss your situation. First thing is, where are you at in the process? Are you in the beginning, you're in the middle, or are you in the end? The best and most efficient is if people can come to us before, because then we can collect their financial information, their discovery. For example, there are things that have to be done, can't be avoided, that for financials. For example, in Maryland, you have to fill out what's called a Maryland long form financial statement.
Okay.
It's a Maryland financial affidavit that lists your income, your budget, your assets and liabilities, and that's what you use to negotiate throughout the divorce. Now, a lot of people just don't hire anybody or don't have anybody to help them, and they just fill their budget out kind of half-heartedly. They don't really take their time
dig
and
deep
do
on
that.
it.
So what happens is, not only do they cut themselves short, but the main point is they have zero peace of mind.
Right.
So they keep arguing about the numbers because they don't know if they're getting enough, because they're not clear about their numbers.
Okay.
Where we come in, everything that we do is derived from a line item on a bank statement or anything. It has to be backed up to show you this is exactly what your income is. This is exactly what your spending is. If you get this, you're going to be financially secure, or you're not. And that's where we come in, to show them that with the backup information. And if you're going to not be financially secure, you're going to want to know that before you run out of money 15 years down the line.
Or pay a ton for an attorney that, now you can't afford.
Absolutely.
Huh. Okay. So I would provide all my banking information, all my taxes, returns, things like that, similarly if they had their own.
Yep. It's called financial discovery, and they would have to do that with an attorney anyway, and that's where me and the spouse would discuss, how many years and stuff we need to collect. But it comes down to income, budget, assets, and liabilities. So we usually collect minimum last 3 years of W-2 statements, tax returns, if they're business owners, other tax, information needed. Assets and liabilities, we usually collect 12-month statements of all your assets, liabilities. Make sure, especially right now with the market, how it's been and everything like that, you need to make sure that you're using updated values and not values from 6 months ago that could be 20, 30 grand higher, or something like that. And then it just comes down to their budget. As I said, it's spending, and that's the most important part. So we do anywhere from 12 to 36 months of bank statements. I would collect your checking, savings and credit cards. You would go to your online banking, just PDF it, save it to a folder, send it to me. We use Dropbox just so it's secure and everything like that. And that's how we'd get started. And what I do is I analyze that income information, the budget information, the asset and liability information. We do everything in Excel spreadsheets before, so it's simple to see for the spouses. Then once we're complete, we fill out that Maryland long-form financial statement that they need to negotiate on their matter. So that's where really having the backup information and the peace of mind comes in, is because when they walk into mediation, they're not thinking, hey, did I leave anything out of my budget? You know, am I asking for enough? Am I getting enough? That's not a question with us. When they walk into mediation, they have an analysis that shows I am going to be okay or I'm not. And if it shows I'm not, then we have another analysis that shows here's what we need to do to make this equitable.
Okay. And then usually when they meet with you, it ends up being a start to finish, not or how often would you say it blows up where you're just like, I can't help you guys. You need to battle this out, unfortunately.
You know, to my credit, hopefully not that often.
That's good.
Now, it does happen.
Sure.
Divorce is emotional.
Yeah.
You can't take that out. And, you know, and that's the first thing that I tell people is I'm not trying to say don't pay attention to the emotions or anything. I know it's emotional.
Right.
That's why I like explain my story with my parents and everything like that. But if you can treat the divorce process like a business agreement and set emotions aside, it's only going to save you money. It's only going to save your kids money or a kid's time. Everybody involved. It's only going to save them time, money, and stress.
Yeah.
The only people that benefit going to court is the family law attorneys.
Right.
And what's scary is the divorce process, the longer you go into it, the more control you lose over where your assets and liabilities are going. So say you and I were getting divorced right now. If we did, followed my process, you and I could figure this out, between outside of court, and take it there, and we'd be, okay. But where the family law attorneys, what happens is they usually use the information given to them by the spouses, the income budget,
they're not communicating.
And everything like that. Not because they're communicating, it's just simply because family law attorneys are just not trained in finances. And like I said, that is not a bad thing by any means. It'd be like
it's just not their wheelhouse.
There you go. It'd be like me trying to do your job without the training or anything like that. So that's where Synergy Divorce Solutions, my company, Synergy, as I said, everybody does what they're a professional at to help these spouses avoid court and obviously save them time, money, and stress.
So now, do you see any instances where someone says, yeah, I want to get divorced, you walk them through the process, they get that coach or therapist involved and it fixes the issue?
Yeah, all the time, actually. And so...
Is that after or before you dig into the finances?
It's got to be after,
right.
Because I can't do anything until I know the numbers. And I've probably said that a million times over the last 6 years that I've been doing this. Is look, we can't make any decisions. We can't accept this. We can't do anything unless I have all backup information that shows my client's going to be okay. And that's when I work with attorneys. And this is where attorneys do love working with me, because what I tell them is, hey, throw me under the bus all the time. I say, hey, my divorce financial analyst needs this information, because a lot of time people just try to hold up the divorce process to make it more costly on the other spouse if they don't have money or something, to try to kind of just burn them out.
Cut their legs out.
There you go. So what we'll do is we'll come in there and make sure that everything's being done properly and that everybody's equitable is actually the term. So for people that don't know this, Maryland is what's called an equitable distribution state.
Okay.
Everybody thinks divorce 50-50. That's how you split up everything, and we go on our way. That's actually not the case. In Maryland, an equitable distribution state means that you have to look at the spouse's income, their budgets, their assets and liabilities to come to an equitable, not equal distribution. Now, the issue with that, and why I have a job, is because there's not a clean-cut definition of this is what equitable is going to be. So how we describe, or how we show our clients it's going to be an equitable agreement is, we believe, if you're able to maintain the same lifestyle that you were accustomed to during your marriage, spending the same money, working the same time and everything, if you're able to maintain the same lifestyle after your divorce that you were living during your marriage, we consider that an equitable agreement. You have enough money to be financially secure moving forward, and on a monthly basis, you're not losing new money because you have enough income to provide for your expenses.
Okay. All right. So you had mentioned your parents went through this. If, let's say, you had existed in this position at that point in time, how much would you have saved in time and money, do you think, in general?
Now, that is a great question, and it's very specific to my parents' case, and all cases are different.
Sure, absolutely.
But because my parents were so emotional, they couldn't even speak to each other.
Sure.
And this was the problem in my parents' case, which was crazy. My father was a financial advisor.
Sure.
So he knew a whole bunch about finances. Obviously, he was great at what he did and everything like that. My mother had owned her own business before, doing Excel spreadsheets. So she is very, very financially savvy too. But they couldn't speak to each other.
Sure.
So they had to hire family law attorneys, to help them communicate with each other.
Sure.
So what ended up happening is they, as knowing their finances, knew what the numbers were. But since they couldn't talk, they tried to communicate their very complex financial situations to their attorneys, and
who
then
have
their
no
attorneys,
financial basis to
who usually have zero to no financial education. Like I said, it's not a bad thing.
Right.
I don't have any legal training or anything like that.
Sure.
And so really, that's where we come in and we show them that you are going to be okay, and it really is just all about showing it before they get to court, before they, go through court. And, in my parents' divorce, they had to, subpoena their business partners, drag them through court. There's no need for that, you know? And if they could have simply just communicated, then they would have probably saved $100,000. So to answer your question, I know that was a long explanation, but where I would have helped my parents is the best is communicating. Is, first of all, I don't charge for phone calls and emails, and so my clients aren't scared to call me all the time. And so what I would say to them is I would say, look, I realize at this point, you guys despise each other. You guys hate each other. It is what it is. But if you're able to treat this as a business agreement and try to put the emotions aside as best as possible, it's just going to save you years and money. And obviously, to help the family, stay together. You want your kids. You don't want your kids asking their parents for 4 or 5 years, "Hey, what's going on? Why isn't the divorce finished up?" Everything like that. There could be child alienation involved and everything like that. So, what's crazy about the divorce process is the longer it takes, to get the divorce completed, is the most it hurts the spouses, not only in their pocket, but like I said, if you go to litigation, you go to a judge isn't trained in finances either, and they just make the call, look, we're going to split this up like that.
Right.
They have no idea if the spouses are going to be okay or not.
Right, they don't care at that point. They just
need to, because
get it
there's
done.
so many cases going in there. And so really where I would have helped the best is just with the communications and, collecting all their finance. They probably spent $100,000 each just communicating to their attorney, sending them financial information and everything like that.
Yeah, so I guess if you're thinking about getting divorced, we're hitting that time of year now where it's last couple of years either way has been high stress for a lot of people. Now you hear recession this, and that's a choice whether or not a lot of people want to participate in the recession. Obviously, there's plenty of jobs out there that still need to be filled. So that, usually I assume most, and from what I hear, most divorces are caused over financial to begin with.
Yep. And that's what I would say. And a lot of people said, when COVID hit, that's when my business really exploded. And when COVID
Everyone's stuck together.
Well, and everybody says, oh, you're probably doing so well right now because people are getting divorced so much because they're stuck together. Well, that unfortunately, and we don't promote divorce here by any means. Right. So unfortunately, that was the case. But why my business exploded was because you couldn't get a court date for 12 months. And so if you can't get an into court for 12 months, you're pretty much just
Stuck
sitting
with
there
them.
doing nothing. So why not try to settle it outside of court in the next 12 months, And so that's where really things opened up, is people were unable to get into courtrooms, and so they hired my services, obviously, to settle the finances outside of court, so they didn't even have to go to court.
What's the average length you would say of a divorce right now, or just in general?
Working with me? Or working
Just
with other
period.
people?
Someone goes through a divorce. Let's say you're not involved.
I would say if I'm not involved, I would probably say 12 to 18 months. Now, I have to repeat myself a lot. In every divorce case is different.
It's different. Oh, yeah, 100%.
Every single one is different. But I would say probably 12 to 15 months, and probably $20,000 to $30,000 is probably the minimum, anywhere around
Of what you're going to
here
spend on
of
each
what-
side,
of
right?
what they're going to spend. Yeah.
Right.
And
So it could be 30 a person or 30 in total.
that's going to be 30 a person.
That's what I figured,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So about $60,000 total,
Right.
and that's for just a divorce. And why that is, and it's because the attorneys have to work as if they were going to court. So the attorneys do have to collect all that information, everything like that, even if they're not going to go
Sure.
to court. And so that's where we really help come in, is look, we can collect all this financial information for a third or a fourth of what an attorney costs. And like I said, you have to do it anyway.
Yeah.
There are no ifs, ands, and buts about doing the financials in your divorce. So that's what we say. At a minimum, why not do your financial statement and discovery with us? You're doing the financial collection and analyzing with a financial professional at a lower cost than an attorney with the backup information.
Yeah.
And piece of, and I'm saying it so much, but the backup information is what gives spouse peace of mind, and when they have peace of mind, that's when they settle.
Well, most people want convenience. So, I mean, going through 12 to 18 months of bullshit to go to court doesn't sound exciting.
It's not fun, and
Right.
especially if you're working. Now, I do this for a living, so I'm doing this stuff all day. But
Right.
imagine yourself if you were going through a divorce. You work probably more than 40 hours a week.
Right.
You work harder than the most average person. How the heck are you going to find time to do all this calculating of all your finances and everything
Right.
like that? What do you do? Want to do it on your weekends when you
Yeah.
have 30 minutes off or
Yeah,
something
no, I don't
like
wanna
that?
do it at all.
And so it's just they're not in the mood to do it because they're so emotional, and that's where I come in. Like I said, I take it off their plate for them. I just say, give me your finances, and I'll take care of the rest. And that's why we really love what we're doing, is obviously, as I said, helping people out that have been through the same situation as my family has. But it's just the concept of my company is very, very simple.
Sure.
You have to do the finances anyway at some point. The divorce process works the same. It's only going to benefit you, your kids, anybody else involved if you try to settle outside of court.
Right. It's a lot less dirty and a lot less emotion.
Yep. And maintaining relationships is important.
Yeah.
A lot of people, unfortunately, my parents couldn't even speak after they got
Sure.
divorced, A lot of people, they want to maintain. They have kids,
Right.
and they have kids 3-4
Yeah,
years
you're tied
old.
to that person for however
They want
long.
to go to sporting events and stuff, with everything, and be able to co-parent and stuff like that. And that's also why I love what I do, because when the financial part is the stress point, obviously. And so when you can show them, look, you guys are going to be okay, that avoids them going down the road that starts them fighting and everything like that. And that's where we save clients from, unfortunately, sometimes going to court and hating each other after. That's where we help them maintain relationships. And that's not even about saving them money and stuff at that point. It's just about their well-being, their kids' well-being, and just making sure they're going to be okay.
Yeah. Is there anything you would want to share with anyone? I know we got a couple minutes here left, but is there anything you would want to share, a helpful story or something that would really just help people understand more of how you're really helping versus going through this long 12 to 18 month process?
Yeah, 100%. And so I think one of the best stories that I have is one of our cases. We had a woman that was, bless her heart, she was a stage 3 cancer survivor. And so she was unemployable. And so what happens is usually, you look at both spouses' incomes, and, that helps a lot. But her being unemployable, the other spouse had to provide for everything for her. Now, in that case, they didn't have the cash flow to do so. You know, he couldn't do, you know, paying her $12,000-$15,000 or whatever a month for her needs. And so where we came in, the actual marital property distribution actually ended up 70-30 for our client. And like I said, people think 50-50 every time, but what we did was, because he had retirement and investable assets rather than the cash flow, instead of dividing up the assets 50-50, we said, look, you can give her 70% of the assets that's going to generate more cash for her per month, which is going to reduce your alimony payment in general. But it's one of my favorite stories because we actually doubled the amount of money she was supposed to get per month. So we actually, and why I like it is because she thought that she only needed $9,000 a month to provide, and when I got in there and analyzed her spending, it was $12,000-$13,000 or something like that.
Wow.
And that's where she literally goes, "Thank God I hired you," because
nobody would have saw it.
There you go. And if she would have went thinking she needed $9,000 when she actually needs, you know, $12,000-$13,000 a month, that's when you start building up serious credit card debt right there.
Right.
And that's why it's so important in the divorce process to do it correctly the first time, because these people are, you know, a lot of people, you know, 55, 60, 75 years old and stuff like that. Everything is relying on this for a lot of people. You can't mess this up. You know? They need to be financially secure for the rest of their lives, you know, and that's where I really love what I do, is because what I love doing is just showing people that they're going to be okay. Being able to see, you can literally see the stress relief in these people sometimes when they see, come on analysis, they show, I'm going to be okay. I've had someone just start crying right in front of me because they were so happy. They said, I didn't think I would get through this and everything like that. That's probably my favorite story right there.
That's awesome.
And that was the same person that was my stage 3 cancer survivor, the one
That's
that
cool.
also came to tears when at the end. And so really that's probably my favorite story of all time, because just being able to see her in the beginning, and she was so down, and she was like, oh, I'm not going to get anything, I'm so done for, and everything like that, to completely just not only getting her the money she needed was nice, but seeing
Peace
her
of mind.
attitude change and everything throughout to get more confident, and then by the end of it, her being ready to start a new life. That's probably my favorite story.
That's awesome. So where can people find your information?
Yeah, so if you need to find me, as I said, you can just Google my company, Synergy Divorce Solutions.
Okay.
You can go to my website right there. I have a whole bunch of links. I have articles of stuff of past, past things. I've been on the news, as I said a few times. You can YouTube videos and stuff that you can see there. You can, like I said, Synergy Divorce Solutions, and that's all you need to Google. My office number is 410-202-8977. So if they want to do a phone call, rather email, easiest way is just going to be to Google my my company. Excuse me. Yep. And so
sounds good.
If not, maybe how I get other clients, stuff like that, is obviously through you and other professionals that I've
word of mouth.
set up relationships with. And that's what I think is funny, for lack of a better term, is when I started marketing. Yes, I want to market to people that are more likely to have divorcing spouses, family law attorneys, people like yourself, financial advisors. But divorce is so prevalent that I just do anything I can to spread the word, because maybe, she knows him that knows her that's going through a divorce.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So really anything that I can do, and as I said, thank you so much for having me today to promote, obviously, not only my company, but more importantly, the divorce financial analyst, designation in general. It's just people just simply don't know it's possible.
Yeah.
People still think you have to hire a family law attorney. It's going to battle it out and everything like that, where that's just not the case.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be that way. Well, that's a wrap, everyone. So if you have any questions, you know where to reach Steven, you know where to reach us. Again, our number, 410-638-9555. And we look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.
Again, thank you so much for having me. If anybody has any questions or anything that I can assist them with, we do not charge for phone calls, emails, or initial consultations. So if we can't help you out, which I promise you we could, we can at least point you in the right direction.
Sounds good.